We may have tutorial classes.
I just wanted to get an idea when to wind up.
Then
That's why I'm asking.
okay, ma'am.
Okay, my start presenting. Can I have few videos? Okay. Okay. Reserve பண்ண சொல்லிடுங்க ஏதாவது ஸ்டடிக்கு இருக்கிறதுனால ஓகே இதுக்கு போலீஸ் கிட்ட ஹேண்ட் ஓவர் பண்ணிடுங்க ஓகே சரிப்பா தேங்க்யூ நான் பண்ணுவேன் எஸ் மேம் கேன் யூ ஸ்டார்ட் ப்ரெசென்டிங்
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Uma, a 24-year-old female from Red Hills, Chennai, who works as a laborer at a construction site, came to the OPD with a chief complaint of inability to conceive for the past 5 years. A history of presenting illness for the female partner. Mrs. Uma presented to the OPD with complaint of inability to conceive in spite of regular unprotected sexual intercourse with a married life of 5 years. There is no history of previous evaluation or treatment for the same. History of weight gain is present. History of acne is present. There is a history of irregular menstrual cycle. No history of excessive facial hair or body hair growth. No history of abdominal discharge per vaginal. No history of fever. No history of burning, micturition, lower abdominal pain or backache. No history of intermenstrual or postcoital bleeding. No history of dysmenorrhea or dyspareunia. No history of mass per abdomen or vagina. No history of chronic cough, evening rise of temperature, or weight loss. No history of constipation, cold intolerance, lethargy, or heavy menstrual bleeding or hoarse voice. No history of nipple discharge. No history of use of any contraceptive. No history of any drug intake. No history of abnormal milk secretion. No history of previous abdominal or pelvic surgery. And no history of previous pregnancy or abortion.
Okay, we'll stop in this. We'll go for the discussion and come back. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
go back to the previous slide. Okay, now we are presenting a woman, lady, 24-year-old lady who is married for 5 years, who has come with inability to conceive. So, how do you define infertility?
Ma'am,
I have few volunteers also to answer.
Ma'am, infertility is the failure of a couple to conceive after 1 year of regular unprotected sexual intercourse.
Okay. It is defined as inability to conceive. Actually, there are terminologies like fertility and sterility. So, it is the apparent inability of a patient to conceive is defined as infertility. When it becomes an absolute inability of the patient to conceive, we call it as sterility. There is a subtle difference, but for an undergraduate, it is okay. So there should have been
Yes, ma'am.
inability to conceive in spite of regular unprotected sexual intercourse for at least 1 year, 1 full year. Then only we can label it as infertility. So that comes to the thing. So you have mentioned lot of things. So we'll lot of histories. So let us go through the significance of each history. History of weight gain. What does it suggest?
Ma'am,
Particularly in an infertile patient who is for investigation. So she has come with infertility. So what all you should have in your mind while investigating when there is a history of weight gain?
ma'am, PCOD, hypothyroidism.
Okay. Okay, PCOD causes anovulation. It is one of the most important cause, contributing around 40 to 50%. Okay, so PCOD is an important thing, but hypothyroidism it does not cause infertility. We can see a lot of hypothyroid patients who become pregnant. So hypothyroid may be associated with it, but it is not a direct cause. So history of weight gain, it can be even habitual also. So when we have history of weight gain, You all know it is a vicious cycle. Increase of weight increases the PCO. So treatment for PCO is again weight loss. So the next will be history of acne. So, so what is polycystic ovarian syndrome?
Ma'am, it's diagnosed by Rotterdam's criteria. 2 out of 3 of the following should be present. Oligo or anovulation, symptoms of hyperandrogenism, and polycystic ovaries on ultrasound.
Ultrasound. So this is more important. So the features. The features of hyperandrogenism is manifested as acne, excessive facial and hair growth. This patient has acne, okay, and associated with oligomenorrhea. So in this patient, we have weight gain, acne, and irregular menstrual cycle. So we have to think more in favor of ovarian dysfunction or the ovarian cause most likely to be a polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay.
Okay,
No
ma'am.
history of abnormal discharge PV you have mentioned. What does that imply in a how is it significant in a case of infertility?
Ma'am, sexually transmitted infections or PID.
Okay. Any PID can cause infertility because of tubal block. Okay. There is inflammation of the endosalpinx also. So when they heal by a thing, there can be tubal block of varying degree. So PID is an important thing which has to be got history.
Yes.
No history of fever, again PID. Then burning micturition, low backache. Okay, these are not that much specific for us. And then history of intermenstrual and postcoital bleeding we have mentioned. What is the significance of intermenstrual bleeding or postcoital bleeding in infertility?
Ma'am, endometriosis may be present.
Endometriosis intermenstrual or postcoital bleeding is very rare. So intermenstrual bleeding, when you say when the patient has a regular cycle and the patient bleeds in between the cycle, so it usually is a manifestation of some endometrial structural defects, structural problems like endometrial polyp. அது மாதிரி இருக்கும்போது you have the spotting from the polyp, bleeding from the polyp in between the cycle, because it is highly vascular. Some polyps may be highly vascular, so they may bleed in between the cycle. So presence of an endometrial polyp actually decreases the fertility. So that also is very important. Postcoital bleeding is because of when they have a postcoital bleeding in cervical pathologies. So precancerous lesions can cause. But more than that, of significance to our infertility will be cervical infection, indolent cervical infections. Sometimes there can be cervical ulcer also. That can be because of the PID, and all these things can manifest as postcoital bleeding also. So these histories are need to be evaluated. Then they mentioned no history of dysmenorrhea and dyspareunia. How is it significant? Dysmenorrhea. Sangeeta? Anyone can respond? Lot of people are joining and leaving. Anyone can raise your hand and you can answer. Sorry, ma, challu ma.
Ma'am,
Dyspareunia.
dysmenorrhea could be due to it's physiological in many cases, and apart from that, it may be due to PID or fibroids or endometriosis. And ma'am, dyspareunia can be superficial or deep, and superficial causes can be like vulvovaginitis or any surface infections, and deep cause can again be PID or fibroid.
How do you classify the dysmenorrhea?
I
We
don't know,
usually
ma'am.
have two types, spasmodic and congestive type. In spasmodic type, it is usually the myometrial lesions like fibroid, which causes spasm during your periods, the first day and second day of periods. The patient will be having severe pain, and it will be relieved with the decrease of the menstruation by second or third day as the volume decreases as the intensity of the spasms, the myometrial contraction decreases, they will decrease. That is spasmodic. Whereas congestive dysmenorrhea, the patient has severe abdominal pain prior to the onset of the menstruation. So 2 to 3 days prior to the menstruation, the patient can have severe disabling pain also, some of varying degree. Pain may be of varying degree. That shows increased vascularity of the pelvic organs. So it can be because of any infection. So any infection in the pelvis. So PID can increase infection in the pelvis. And most common related to infertility will be your endometriosis. If you have endometriosis, there is something called congestive dysmenorrhea. More likely, these patients can even have a triple dysmenorrhea. Triple dysmenorrhea is pain during your periods, during your periods, and after your cycle. Mostly, the infertile patient with endometriosis present with triple dysmenorrhea. So that is very, very important. It is a direct cause of contribution of dysmenorrhea. Okay, so that is
Yes,
very,
ma'am.
very important. So dysmenorrhea is an important entity which we should be taking care of. History is very important. So not only that, any lesions in the pelvis like ovarian tumor or some other subserous fibroid. Subserous fibroid and other things, we have to be very careful. That also can cause dysmenorrhea. Dyspareunia, yes, we have dyspareunia is a contributing factor. Some lesions, local lesion in the pelvis, perineum, that can cause superficial dysmenorrhea. So because of the spasm and vaginismus, that may lead to vaginismus, and because of the anxiety of the patient, they can lead to decreased sexual activity. Okay. So that again contributes to infertility. Next
Yes,
slide.
ma'am.
So history of mass per abdomen and vagina. Okay, how is it significant in infertile patients?
Ma'am, it may be fibroid in the uterus or any tumor. Ma'am, endometrial or ovarian tumor.
So these are very rare in this age group, but still they can have. So ovarian, endometrial, or a fibroid. Fibroid is the most important factor which causes infertility. How does a fibroid cause infertility? How do they fibroid contribute to infertility?
Ma'am, if it's a submucosal fibroid, it'll impede the implantation of the embryo.
So when there is a submucous fibroid, the endometrium over the fibroid is very thin. So the decidualization is very poor in this condition. So that itself can impede in it. Not only that, it occupies a volume in the endometrial cavity. So when the fetus starts growing, it can interfere physically also. Not only that, if it is going to be intramural in position, any fibroid in the intramural position or wherever it is, even in the submucous region, it is nature. Whenever there is a foreign body, the nature tries to expel. So there is increased uterine contraction. The contractile wave is more. So that itself can prevent implantation of the zygote. Okay. So all these are very important factors which need to be given importance to. And history of tuberculosis is very important. You have mentioned chronic cough, evening rise of temperature. So particularly in tropical country like us, it is an important leading cause which has led to the infertility. So added to it, there is history of constipation, cold intolerance, lethargy, heavy menstrual bleeding, and hoarseness of voice. So what does this signify? What is this history for? Constipation, cold intolerance, lethargy,
And hypothyroidism.
Hypothyroidism. Okay. And nipple discharge. So simple hyperprolactinemia, which can be can suppress the ovulation. So milky white discharge or a discharge in the nipple is also very important history which we need to elicit in infertile couple. Particularly whenever the hypothalamus is there is a dysfunction of the hypothalamus, it can cause ovulatory dysfunction also. So contraceptive history, drug history, all these are very important. Previous surgery involving the ovary, okay, again There can be ovarian destruction or even an appendicular abscess which has been operated at a late time after it has ruptured. It can cause a PID and cause a residual damage. Particularly, the right ovary is closed is in close approximation with the thing. So all these are important histories which we need to talk about. Okay.
Menstrual history. She attained menarche at 13 years, has irregular menstrual cycle, 3 days bleeding and 7-day cycle on average with low flow, uses 2 pads per day. And the periods are not associated with pain or clots. And LMP was 21/12/2020. Ma'am, this is from a case sheet, so the date is old.
Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, but if you give me now, I will go for secondary amenorrhea. Discussion will be diverted towards secondary amenorrhea. I presume it is 21/6. Okay, we will presume it is 21/6/21. So the menstrual cycle, regularity of the cycle is very important. The irregular cycle usually implies it is an ovarian dysfunction, polycystic ovary, or something like that. And not only that, triple dysmenorrhea is very important. Triple dysmenorrhea is very important, as already told, congestive dysmenorrhea. So dysmenorrhea history is also to be mentioned in the menstrual history because it has implication like endometriosis, PID, fibroids. So that is very important, and profuse bleeding PV, that is also important. The presence of endometriosis, PID, all these causes. Okay, so
Yes,
or
ma'am.
decreased flow, again in hypothyroidism, it is an indirect cause. Okay, here there is not much to be told. Okay, carry on.
Marital history, married at 19 years. It's a non-consanguineous marriage, and she has been living with her husband since marriage for the past 5 years.
So in the marital history, it is the important history whether the patient has been living with their husband, that is important, and whether the consummation of marriage has taken place or there was any problem. They are separated living. All these things are very important, particularly when labeling the patient or taking the patient for infertility, because the patient is just 24 years. She is married at a very young age. 19 years she has been married. So other social issues can also be there. Okay,
Yes, ma'am. Coital history, had intercourse 2 to 3 days per week. Both partners are aware about fertile period and ovulation. There's no history of dyspareunia, no history of vaginismus, no history of hypospadia, epispadia in husband, and no history of contraception use.
The coital history also is very important, particularly vaginismus, dyspareunia, and the awareness of the fertile period. All these are very important things to be discussed about the uh, about an infertility patient. Okay, ma'am, carry on.
History of presenting illness, male partner. History of smoking 3 to 4 cigarettes per day for the past 3 years. No history of occupational exposure to high temperature or radiation. No history of loss of armpit or pubic hair. No history of polyuria or polydipsia. No history of mumps in childhood. No history of undescended testis. No history of testicular trauma. No history of erectile dysfunction. No history of any
Cigarette smoking decreases the sperm count. So occupational
Yes, ma'am.
exposure to high temperature. So all these are very important. Others indicate hypogonadism thing. Okay, carry on.
No history of ejaculatory problems, no history of alcohol or drug abuse, no history of genital ulcer, and no history of past surgery in the inguinal or genital region.
Okay.
No history of contraceptive use. Past medical and surgical
There
histories
is nothing significant, particularly patient on diabetic patients. When they have a neuropathy, there can be a problem. So IDDM patients, they become significant. But this patient is PCOD treated with metformin. Metformin is used in PCOD as an insulin sensitizer. And history like TB is very, very important in this case. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Family history, no history of infertility in any of the family members, and no history of diabetes or hypertension. Personal history, consumes mixed diet, normal bowel and bladder habits, normal sleep pattern, no history of smoking or alcohol intake. General physical examination.
There is
Pa-
anything significant? The BMI is most significant, and the
yes,
waist
ma'am.
circumference. These are important points which we have to think. There is acne, BMI is increased, and waist circumference. Okay, next one.
Breast, thyroid, spine are normal. Systemic examination is normal.
For
Uh,
any gynecological examination or obstetric examination, we always give importance to breast, thyroid, and spine. Without these three examination and in antenatal, the gait of the patient is to be mentioned. இதெல்லாம் mention பண்ணாம the examination is incomplete. Okay.
yes,
Any
ma'am.
specific finding in the abdomen?
No, ma'am. No specific findings.
What finding do you expect in infertility associated with infertility?
Ma'am, there might be pain because of PID or endometriosis.
Pain can be there. That is a symptom. While
Ma'am, tenderness.
tenderness can be there, fullness can be there, mass can be felt. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Vaginal examination, you are all not routinely doing. But okay, when the patient comes to for infertility, it is better to inspect to have a local examination and look for the intactness of the hymen. So to ensure that consummation of marriage has taken place. And a general clinical examination, speculum and cervical examination is done. So, அதில் என்ன பார்ப்பீங்க ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்காக why discharges, size of the uterus, whether it is enlarged, the mobility of the uterus. Okay, what is the importance of mobility of uterus? Particularly in infertility. PID, chronic PID, endometriosis, the uterus can be retroverted and fixed. Okay, so it may be tender. So when you move the cervix also, there can be tenderness when there is PID. Any fluid or inflammatory collection in the peritoneal cavity, when you move the cervix, you have pain. Okay, that is typical of ectopic pregnancy, ruptured ectopic. When you have a hemoperitoneum, one of the important signs that we elicit is movement of cervix is painful. Okay, so the PID active phase you can have it, but in endometriosis it may be painful. So that indicates the patient is having deep dyspareunia, and because of the endometriosis and adhesions, the ovaries will be pushed into the Porto Douglas and there can be adherent to the posterior surface of the uterus. And uterus may be adherent to the posterior wall structures, rectum and the So அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கும்போது the movement of cervix or the uterus will not be mobile. That is an important clinical finding to diagnose endometriosis.
Yes, ma'am.
Absence of any adnexal mass is also important. Okay, ma'am.
24-year-old lady, Mrs. Uma, married for the past 5 years, came to the OPD with complaint of inability to conceive for the past 5 years with history of irregular menstrual cycle, weight gain, acne, past history of PCOD, and no history of contraceptive use. Her husband has history of smoking for the past 3 years. Provisional diagnosis, a case of primary infertility with likely cause as PCOD.
Okay, now how do you want to go? What's a further course? Investigation and other things.
Yes, ma'am. First, for the female partner, the basic tests, CBC, thyroid function, fasting, blood sugar,
First, it is
HbA1c.
for the male partner only, not the female partner always.
Okay, ma'am.
So I just wanted to tell them. Okay. So usually a thorough history about the vital activities and other thing should have been done, and it is very easy to investigate with a simple procedure, a simple semen analysis. When the patient is cooperative, a simple semen analysis is more than sufficient. So even if we tell them they can go to a lab, but the instruction, how do you advise the patient to do when and how do you what instruction you give for semen analysis?
Ma'am, after abstinence of 3 to 5 days, the patient should.
Okay, when the abstinence is less. Okay, when there is no abstinence, the volume will be less. It may be giving a false impression of oligospermia. Whereas when the duration is long, there can be abnormal cells, more of teratogenospermia, actinospermia, and other things. So it will be grossly misinterpreted. So how will you advise them for semen analysis?
Ma'am, they should preferably give the sample in the hospital itself where the sample is collected
It's not
because
okay. So not that it is not that it should be taken in the hospital itself. It can be taken even at home. Some people, when they are very in the lab or in the facility where they are provided, it may be difficult for them to get a sample. So they can even get a sample from home, and it should be brought to the hospital within 30 minutes. That is more important. The liquefaction
yes,
time
ma'am.
and other things can be taken. So somewhere close by, it can be taken. Okay. It can be taken by any method, but mostly it is produced by masturbation, and the sample should reach earlier. So the only thing what instruction we have to give, they should use a wide mouth bottle, and so the container should be very specific, and it should not be cleaned with any antiseptic solutions. Those are the important things which are very critical for semen analysis. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
3 to 5 days of abstinence. Okay. So suppose if it is abnormal, what do you advise? Do you, we should not jump to conclusion immediately. When will you
Ma'am,
want to review or again repeat the sample?
ma'am, after 2 to 3 months, because spermatogenesis takes about 75 days.
Ideally, it should have been 2 to 3 months, but most of our patients, they are very okay. They become very anxious when they have a negative report. If you say 2 to 3 months, they will change the doctor, and next day itself they will go to some other doctor. So usually we ask give some supportive drugs like vitamin E, antioxidants, nutritional advice, hygienic advice. Everything we counsel the patient and ask them to repeat the sample at an interval of 1 month. So there should be at least minimum 3 samples. Okay. So if there is any problem, any improvement seen in 1 month is a very important factor because it causes a lot of psychological effect when the sperm count is abnormal. So better to counsel them before disclosing the thing report, and then you have to counsel and ask them to they give them some drugs, placebos or something, ask them to repeat that monthly after a month. Okay. So only when things or 3 samples are negative, we should definitely take it as abnormal. As you rightly said, it takes 74 days for spermatogenesis, and capacitation, everything has to take place. So all these are very important. Suppose there is a problem with the semen analysis, then you go for all the other tests which you have mentioned, like thyroid function test, testosterone, prolactin, sugars, and other things. Okay. Scrotal USG. What is the significance of scrotal USG?
Um,
So all these we go only if the semen count is abnormal. If the male partner is able to produce a semen sample and the parameters are normal, usually we do not go for further investigations. Only in abnormal cases we go for the other investigation. So the presence of varicocele and then testicular or epidermal problems can be detected by the scrotal USG.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anti-sperm antibody, that is a very important cause of recent we are getting lot of anti-sperm antibody. Okay, both male cervical as well as male thing we are getting. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. And should I do the female partner
Happily,
investigation?
yes. Now, if there is abnormality, you can go do even a karyotyping or whatever mandates you can do it. So,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
presume the semen sample is normal, so we will go for the female partner. Okay.
Ma'am, CBC, thyroid function, blood sugar, and HbA1c are the tests done to rule out anemia, thyroid dysfunction, or fasting blood sugar and HbA1c also can be helping in the
So it is
PCOS
delayed,
diagnosis.
particularly polycystic ovary that can be insulin resistance. So fasting blood sugar and HbA1c can be done in patient where you suggest where history is suggestive of ovulatory dysfunction.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, and a baseline ultrasound, both transabdominal and transvaginal
Transvaginal.
is
Okay,
done.
to rule out any uterine and ovarian pathology you are doing. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, tests for ovulation, presently, I think, not sure, but ultrasound, follicular study, sequential study is done.
Okay,
And
a simple method, clinical methods. Actually, as a teacher, we will be interested in all these things. Okay, that they also contribute. They are not being done as a routine.
okay,
Just for
ma'am.
ovulation, when we teach or when we do, it's always better to start from the BBT, basal body temperature. Okay, you all know that the basal body temperature decreases by half degree prior to the ovulation, and following ovulation it increases because of progesterone effect by zero point 0.5. So a typical dip and an increase rise of the temperature chart. The thing is the most important thing is it should be taken as the first thing in the morning, even without much activity. So always we ask the patient to keep the thermometer by the bedside, and the minute she wakes up, no, she should not have any bed coffee or whatever it is, and not even brush. So gargling the mouth, nothing should be done. Immediately on getting up, on waking up, with minimal movement, let her have the temperature checked. And if you mark, it's a very good indicator. In almost all the cases, if they are meticulously marking, it acts as a very good test of ovulation. So that is one of the important thing. And the other thing is LH surge. You all know that LH starts rising 24 to 36 hours prior to the ovulation. So for planning all the ART program, so that is very, very important. If when you are doing LH, you are using a kit and identifying the LH, you know when she is likely to get ovulated. So while doing an IUI, or if you are going for in vitro fertilization to retrieve the ovum and other thing, this is an important thing. Yes, we have added ultrasound. But ultrasound we cannot be doing morning and evening. That may be cumbersome. Of late they are doing that also. So as you rightly said, follicular study. Okay, how do you, when and how do you do the follicular study?
Ma'am, you do it from day 10 to 16,
Okay.
and just prior to ovulation, it reaches the largest size of about uh, 20 millimeters.
Okay. So ultrasound usually as a routine we do not do. We all know they, with the regular cycle they ovulate at 14 or 15th day, 14 days prior to the next menstruation. That is very empirical. Okay. So previous 3 cycle calculate பண்ணிட்டு regulation of the cycle, regularity of the cycle வச்சு when she is likely to ovulate. So 2 days prior and 2 days after we take it to consideration. Suppose it is a very irregular cycle, again if you just do like that 10 to 16, patient has a 45-day cycle. So she's likely to ovulate. If it had been, it's most likely to be anovulatory. If she ovulates, she will ovulate only at 31st day. She has to be expected to ovulate at 31st day. So usually what we do, we always give a ovulation induction drug and follow it up with follicular study. So ovulation induction கொடுப்போம். So we give clomiphene or letrozole or some ovulation drugs. Then we follow it up. So this ensures that the patient ovulates at that time. So by 9th day or 10th day, we start do a for any ovulatory study. We need to have a basal scan, as you have already told. Second day, third day, we have a basal scan. So this will identify any unruptured follicle of the previous cycle. If there is an unruptured follicle left in the previous cycle, if you start inducing, it may lead to some other problems, added problems. Ovarian hyperstimulation and other things can happen. So a basal scan is very important before inducing ovulation. And following ovulation by 10th day, as you told, on alternate days, we expect the ovum size to increase at the rate of 1 to 2 millimeter per day. So on the size increase அதுக்கு பொறுத்து we ask them to come on alternate day and then we track it. So usually 20 millimeters we have the ovum rupturing. So in the patients what we do is, if we want to give a trigger for ovarian rupture, we usually give HCG. HCG எப்போ கொடுப்போம்னா prior to that. So when the size is later, so 24 to 36 hours. So around when we have the diameter of the ovum as around 18 millimeters, cross to 18 millimeters, we give a HCG trigger to ensure that the ovary ruptures at the appropriate time. So that is very helpful. HCG கொடுத்து ஒரு 36 to 48 hours, we expect the ovulation. So for us to plan intrauterine insemination, IEI or any other procedure, it will be easier. Otherwise, repeatedly patient will be made to ask to come and some interventions which may fail can unwarranted things can be done. So எப்பயுமே அந்த LH surge or the size of the ovum 18 millimeters வரும்போது we give a the trigger for rupture, HCG trigger கொடுத்து we enhance the thing. So follicular study, it has become part and parcel of any gynecologist nowadays. So yeah, method is LH. Okay. So ovulation it indicates ovarian resistance. So ovarian reserve, இதெல்லாம் பார்க்கிறதுக்கு this will be helpful. Okay. So high LH on the 2 to 3 times LH on the day 2, day 3. Okay. So FSH விட LH 2 to 3 times அதிகமா இருந்ததுன்னா it is likely suggestive of polycystic ovaries when there is none of luteal functions. So அப்ப வந்து அதிகமா இருக்கும். That's why a basal hormonal study on day 2, day 3. Suppose the FSH is very high, it indicates ovarian failure. Ovary la edo resistance irukku, there is some ovarian failure. Ovary is not responding. So we have a negative feedback is not working. So மேல இருந்து FSH நிறைய secrete ஆகுது. So இதெல்லாம் பண்ணீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு எங்க which part you have the problem, we can always diagnose. And serum progesterone you have mentioned. What is the significance of serum progesterone?
Ma'am, in the mid of the luteal phase, it confirms ovulation.
Enapa?
I mean, the middle of the luteal phase, it confirms ovulation.
Ovulation. Okay. So serum progesterone we can be done as you said in 2 cases. ரெண்டு இடத்துல ஒண்ணு இதுல earlier-ஆவே இருந்ததுன்னா that indicates something, but as you said, just a minute. Hello. Madam, UG classல இருக்க மேடம் ஒரு 10 minutes-ல வந்துட்டேன். இந்த விஜயா மேடமும் மலர் மேடமும் வந்துட்டாங்க. அது அந்த பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. இன்னும் 10 minutes க்ளோஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Okay. Okay. I sign பண்ணல மேடம், சீக்கிரம் வந்து. Sorry. Okay, serum progesterone. If there is ovulation, it may rise in the mid-luteal phase. When there is no rise, usually it is done between 21 to 23rd day. So, on the time if there is no rise, normally we expect it to be more than?
Ma'am, 5 nanograms per ml.
Okay, more than 5. Okay. So, peak time it will be around 15, up to 15 nanograms per ml should be there. So, serum progesterone is very important. Progesterone, only when there is ovulation, the corpus luteum forms and progesterone will be secreted. When there is no formation of the corpus luteum, even though there is fertilization, there is no support for the endometrium. Another implantation becomes defective. So as you rightly have mentioned, anti-Mullerian hormone, AMH, okay, this is gaining more significance for
ovarian reserve.
Okay, so ovarian reserve, this is very very important. Okay, so இதெல்லாம் வந்து நம்ம பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். So test of ovulation பார்க்கும்போது we are talking about basal body temperature. அது பார்த்தோம். Ultrasound பண்ணினோம். What else? LH surge. So
yes,
blood Leo, or nowadays they have a kit, some similar to urine pregnancy kit. They have a kit available over the counter. Urinary LH can be detected. So that also gives a very important clue for as a test of ovulation. It is available now. And then mid-luteal phase serum progesterone எடுக்கிறீங்க. அடுத்தது ஒரு simple clinical thing is cervical mucus study. Cervical mucus வந்து under the effect of estrogen, what happens? There is lot of sodium chloride. It will be relatively watery. there is lot of sodium chloride. So if you take a cervical mucus and spread it on a slide and allow it to dry, what happens?
It crystallizes.
Crystallizes. That will give a fern pattern. So we typically call it as a fern pattern. So that is very important. Whereas during ovulation, this discharge becomes very thin, thin. So அப்பதான் நல்ல permeation of the sperms நல்லா ஈஸியா போய் ovulate ஆகுது. So it becomes very thin, watery and what happens is it becomes it is that stretchability, spin barketing we say. So if you take the mucus between your two fingers and stretch, it can be stretched even up to 10 centimeters. Okay, so ovulation under the effect of estrogen, you can stretch it to, that is called spin barketing. Take the cervical mucus between your brow fingers, between your two fingers and stretch it. You will have 10 centimeter increase. That is very important. So and once it ovulates, when you try to do the same thing, it breaks down with a tack. So we call it as a tack.
Okay, ma'am.
So that indicates that the patient has ovulated. That is a simple physiological thing which can be done by the patient itself. Okay. Some educated patient can even find out the time of ovulation by this method. And once it ovulates, the cervical mucus become thick. What is Insler score?
I don't know, ma'am.
Okay, this is the same thing only. The cellularity of the thing, it is given in our short book only. This is a small 2-line thing. So cellularity of the thing, crystallization, viscosity. Viscosity increases. So on the spin barketing, all these are given some score. So that helps to find out whether she has ovulated or not ovulated. So
Okay, ma'am.
thickness, viscosity, spin barketing, cellularity, all these are taken into account. Some examiners may be fond of that. Okay, what are the other methods? Though it is not mandated, in severe cases when there is a doubt about it, sometimes we go for endometrial biopsy, particularly post-ovulatory phase. So premenstrual phase, if you have a progesterone, it indicates the patient has ovulated, but we do not do it routinely because it may disturb the process itself may disturb any zygote which is implanted. So that is not done at all. That we do it when there is high degree of suspicion of tuberculous lesion, endometritis like thing. That is the time when we go for endometrial biopsy in the post-ovulatory phase or premenstrual. Any procedure for the women for infertility or whatever it is should be done in the pre-ovulation phase, except this biopsy.
Okay, ma'am.
So the next thing will be your tubal factor. Can I
Yes,
take
ma'am.
another 10 minutes?
Sure, ma'am.
Sure, okay. So tubal patency எப்படி கண்டுபிடிப்பீங்க? What are the tests?
Ma'am, hysterosalpingogram can be done, and saline infusion sonography, and to confirm and also to treat can do a diagnostic hysterolaparoscopy with chromotubation.
Okay. HSG, it's commonly called. Usually we do it in the pre-ovulatory phase. So immediately after the menstruation, once the menstrual fluid all decreases, we go for this. It is an X-ray method where we inject a radio-opaque dye, and then we try to. What is the capacity of the uterus, uterine cavity? Uterine cavity can hold around 7 to 10 ml. Okay, so 7 to 10 ml of fluid வந்து uterine cavity குள்ள இருக்கலாம். So we inject around 10 to 15 cc of the dye, and then we take a thing. So suppose நம்ம நிறைய inject பண்ணோம்னா full dilate ஆகி it will spill down and all. That is the other phase. So ஒரு 10 cc inject பண்ண உடனே cavity full ஆயிடும், and then it goes to the tube, so that the tubal pathologies can be seen. And we have to note for the spill also. Spill வந்து நம்ம பார்க்கணும். Spill is very important. This identifies any intrauterine pathologies, அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது இருக்கா என்னன்றதுலாம் it becomes evident. So all these are very important. So HSD, what do we do? What dye we use?
Ma'am,
iodine-based dye. Usually we have this Andre 318 or dye, iodine-based dye is available. So books வந்து என்ன கொடுக்கும் 50% iodine with 6% polyvinyl alcohol or something they give. Okay. So இதுல வந்து யூஸ் பண்றது வந்து Condrate, that is the trade name. Condrate 318 தான் நம்ம இது எல்லா இடத்துலயும் யூஸ் பண்றாங்க. So the only problem is the patient has to be taken to the X-ray room. That she has to put in the lithotomy position, and you have to catch hold of the cervix. You insert a cannula through the os, and then you inject the dye. Okay. So that some patients may cooperate, some may not cooperate. So it may be painful for some patients. So but it is very informative. It is a record. We have the X-ray in hand, and if she goes for a second consultation also, that will be useful. So that way it is a thing. So and you can identify any corneal block or any block in the tube. If there is a PID, the tube may be dilated. In the dilated tube la வந்து நிறைய dye அப்படியே சேர்ந்து இருந்ததுன்னா again it may be a problem. So the other thing is saline infusion sonography. Nowadays it is being done because radiation exposure kadayadu. It is done under ultrasound only. You inject the saline. You put a Foley catheter, small size Foley catheter or a feeding tube through the os. You cannulate and then you put. No anesthesia is needed. Scan room நீங்க பண்ணலாம். You inject some saline. So saline is always sterile. It does not cause much harm to the patient. So all these procedures should not be done when there is a suspicion of any infection or patient bleeding irumbodo, inflammation irumbodo. You are not supposed to do all these things. Otherwise you can go ahead. இதுல வந்து என்ன பண்றீங்கன்னா saline, but நிறைய saline வேணும். Water saline இது பண்ணும்போது around 150 to 200 ml of the saline needs to be pushed. Push பண்ணிட்டு you keep the Doppler near the side of the uterus. Probe வந்து அங்க வச்சிட்டு that flow can be seen. And the tube vadiya flow ஆகி it will get inside that stream getting inside the thing inside the peritoneal cavity can be beautifully seen. And when you do a scan, POD the fluid collection which was not there after injection, if you have a fluid collection, you are assured of the patency of the tube. Definitely the tube is patent to this. நமக்கு தெரியுது. Okay. So that is the thing. But of late, married 4 years or any other comorbid conditions இருக்கு or any uterine pathology na இருக்கும்போது we directly go for laparoscopy, diagnostic hysterolaparoscopy with chromoperturbation. Okay. The hysteroscope visualize the interior of the uterus also, so that the simple endometrial polyp, the endometrial pathologies, adhesions, Asherman syndrome, whatever it is, can be diagnosed easily. And you do a laparoscopy also simultaneously. So uterus os valiya cannulate panni you do a hysteroscope and you do a laparoscopy, see the exterior of the uterus, and then you can inject the dye through the hysteroscope or a cannula, Rubin's cannula, or what cannula you will use here.
I'm not sure.
Wilkinson's, Leech Wilkinson's cannula. So கேக்குறதெல்லாம் எக்ஸாம்ல ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்கா அது கேட்பாங்க. So and you inject methylene blue. Okay, diagnostic laparoscopy, hysterolaparoscopy பண்ணும்போது chromoperturbation பண்ணும்போது we inject methylene blue. Okay. So methylene blue inject பண்றீங்க. So and we will be able to see the spill. So,
yes ma'am.
This is gold standard. So gold standard for இது வந்து is diagnostic hysterolaparoscopy with chromoperturbation. Okay, chromoperturbation. So that is the thing. So various methods, salpingoscopy, fallopinoscopy, and all these things are all there. So examiners வந்து அடுத்தது postcoital test ன்னு அது கேட்பாங்க. What is postcoital test?
Ma'am, you can test for the cervical mucus for the sperm.
No. Okay, some men may not be willing to give a semen analysis. So and not only that, it is more functional. So after the coitus, you ask the patient to immediately come to the hospital and you take the cervical mucus and you examine it. This is called the Sims test or the Hunner's test. Okay. So when you do it, that too particularly 1 to 2 days prior to the ovulation. So you spread it on the glass slide and see under the microscope. It is simple. If you have a lot of motile sperms, it indicates there is no antibodies, cervical antibodies, particularly anti-sperm antibodies. This is very important. And then the partners who are not willing to give semen analysis, this is very important. If you have a immotile sperm, actually the sperm should have a forward movement. So the mobility should not be in a rotatory fashion. Rotatory fashion, it indicates there is antibody. It is not allowed to move. There should be a progressive motility for the sperms. So that is very, very important. So the other thing is male factorless semen analysis parameters. WHO criteria, either 2010 or recent thing. If you say, they will be happy. So when do you call it as what is the normal sperm parameters you expect in semen analysis?
Ma'am, greater than 15 million per ml and total count greater than 40 million.
Okay.
And ma'am, greater than 14% have normal morphology and strict greater than 4% have more ideal morphology.
So when we start telling about it, it is a volume. Volume should be 2 to 5 ml, not less than 2 ml. That will be the thing. pH is also very important. Sperms thrive in a very alkaline pH.
Alkaline.
More than 7.2 to 7.8. Alkaline pH is there. Whereas vaginal, the pH is acidic. That's why. So the thing, mobility is very important. Motility of the sperm is very important for the fertilization. It has to just enter into it. The cervix. Cervix pH is equal to that of the seminal fluid. So that is very important. And then semen concentration, as you already told, 20 million and the ejaculate 40 million per ejaculate. And motility, progressive motility is very important. It should be more than 50. 50%
Yes,
progressive motility should be there. And morphology, as you told, 14% should be structurally normal. So
Okay,
morphology is very important. WBC there is more infection. WBC will be more than 1 million. That is also not going to help. Immature cells, round cells should be less than 5 million. So immature cells are seen as round cells. So these are all very important. So semen analysis. When do you call it as aspermia?
Ma'am, when there's absence of semen.
The absence of semen is called aspermia. When there is absence of sperm in the semen, we call it as azoospermia. Come here, oligospermia, teratospermia, and other things, necrospermia. All these are very important. So seminal aspermia, all these things. Okay. So that we have already discussed. Okay, in this patient, suppose the semen analysis is normal. How will you go about?
Ma'am, in this couple, we will investigate the female for PCOS.
PCOS. Okay, then you are going to ask for weight reduction. So lifestyle management, lifestyle changes we have to talk about. Weight loss. The weight loss should not be very drastic. It should be at a rate of 2 to 3 kg over a month, or 4 to 5 kgs over 2 months. Slow pace, but it should be sustained. Even though the patient is not losing the actual weight, the simple exercise initiation, sometimes there is a latent period before they lose weight. So on the process there will be insulin sensitization, and most of the patients, though they do not lose weight, they conceive spontaneously. So you have to give some time, and always, as you have mentioned, folic acid ovulation induction you are going to give. Okay. For this patient, followed by follicular. When you do ovulation induction, you always follow it up with follicular study. Okay. So
Okay,
we go for ovulation induction with spontaneous, and so natural cycle we try for 3 cycles. 3 cycle of ovulation induction then we go for the next level will be escalated to IUI. சரி நிறைய நம்ம ஓவலேஷன் இன்ஜெக்ஷன் பண்ணக்கூடாது. சம்டைம்ஸ் there are people who take ovulation injection drug as a vitamin மாத்திரை மாதிரி மாசத்துக்கு 5 நாள் போட்டுட்டே இருப்பாங்க. So these are all will be causing problem in the later. The more surface of the ovary is injured, more risk of ovarian cancers. So not exceeding 6 cycles. So அதுக்கு மேல இருந்ததுன்னா you investigate and go for the higher procedures. That should be ideal. So dyspareunia பத்தி சொல்லிட்டோம், infertility, ovulation induction, and then you have to know about some ART procedures. So I'm not going into those details. So 7 parameters தெரியணும். Investigation கேட்டாலே male couple, you send the patient to a male to a whether if they, you can do it yourself or a thorough physical examination, simple examination, and discuss with the individual about the coital process and activity, fertile period, all these things will help. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else you want to discuss? Short notes, infertility learn ஏதாவது ஒரு இது கேட்டுட்டு தான் இருப்பாங்க. endometrial polyp, Asherman syndrome, உங்களுக்குலாம் unruptured LPD எல்லாம் கேட்க. I think should be okay. Anyone has any question, please raise. Otherwise, we will close for the day.
Ma'am, is IVF done in KGH or IOG?
IVF, we have proposed a proposal, but it is not done. IEI was done. Even this IEI, because of the COVID, now we have just put it in a pause because of the government's thing.
Ma'am, because like IVF is expensive, so how will it be affordable for lower income people?
Yeah, that's why they have given the proposal and government has also sanctioned it.
Okay, ma'am.
So that is also there. It is an upcoming project. It has been sanctioned in both KGH as well as in IOG. In another few years, maybe we will get the infrastructure, because the infrastructure for IVF has to be different. We have to build a separate building and all these things, but it has been sanctioned already. So far it was not available. Nowadays, a lot of even peripheral colleges have started IEI. So IVF, we have to go to the next level.
Okay, ma'am.
Maybe by the time you become a PG, you finish your PG, you will have the IVF center here and the course for it also.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other responders? எல்லாம் poor responder இருக்கீங்க. Okay, ma'am. Then I will take a leave. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sarath.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Riya. We have not seen any of the faces. Even in the exam, if you come and sit like this, it will be like an external, facing an external exam. Okay.